If you wait for proof before you believe in yourself, you'll never start. And one of the most powerful lessons you will ever learn is that belief comes first. Before results, before validation, before success. Most people hesitate because they want certainty before they act. They want proof that something will work before they commit to it. But life doesn't work that way. The world tends to respond to people who move forward with conviction, people who act as if they belong, people who decide first and then figure things out along the way. Your mind is the architect of your reality. What you believe about yourself shapes how you behave. If you believe deep down that you're not capable, that success is reserved for other people, that you don't quite have what it takes, your behavior will quietly align with those beliefs. You will hesitate more, you will quit earlier, you will interpret obstacles as proof that you are right to doubt yourself. And eventually, those beliefs will become your reality. Not because they were true, but because you acted as if they were. On the other hand, when someone decides that something is possible, and I mean truly decides, their behavior begins to change. They persist longer. They see obstacles as temporary instead of permanent. They interpret rejection as feedback instead of failure. They keep moving when others stop. And over time, reality begins to catch up with that belief. This isn't about arrogance. It isn't about pretending you're perfect or ignoring reality. It's about understanding that self-doubt quietly kills more potential than failure ever could. You don't need to know exactly how you will achieve something. You only need to believe that it's possible and commit to moving in that direction. But belief alone is worthless. Belief without action is just fantasy. You can sit in your room visualizing success all day long, imagining the life you want, telling yourself that you're capable of great things. But if you never take action, nothing will change. Action is what turns belief into reality. And this is where most people get stuck. They think about their dreams. They tell themselves that they will start when the timing is right, when they feel more confident, when they have more money, when they have more experience. But confidence does not come before action. Confidence comes from action. Certainty does not come before you begin. Certainty develops as you move. The harsh truth is that success rarely belongs to the most talented person. It belongs to the person who keeps showing up, the person who is willing to fail, learn, adjust, and keep going long after others have quit. Every meaningful pursuit works this way. If you want to get stronger, you go to the gym even when you don't feel like it. If you want to build a business, you work on it even when nothing seems to be working. If you want to master a skill, you practice when the progress is invisible. Results rarely appear instantly. At first, it often feels like nothing is happening. But if you keep showing up long enough, something changes. Momentum builds. And suddenly the effort that once felt pointless begins to produce results. A useful way to think about this is like playing golf. When you stand on the tee box at the start of a hole, you cannot see every detail of the course. You cannot see every hazard. You cannot see every slope in the green. You just know the general direction of the flag. So you take the shot. You hit the ball in the direction. Then you walk forward and you see where it landed. Each shot gives you more information. You adjust, you refine, you move closer. By the time you're putting on the green, you've learned enough along the way to finish the hole. And life works in much the same way. You do not need to see the entire path before you begin. You only need the courage to take that first swing, start the project, say yes to the challenge you don't feel ready for, move towards the direction you believe in. Belief gives you the courage to swing. Action moves you down the fairway, and persistence eventually gets you to the flag. The only shot you cannot recover from is the one you never take. Along this journey, you will encounter fear, and fear is often misunderstood. Many people assume that if something feels uncomfortable or frightening, it must mean that they're on the wrong path. But that isn't always true. Very often, fear is simply the feeling of growth. Think about the first time someone walks into a gym. Everything feels unfamiliar. The weights feel heavy. Your form feels awkward. You feel weak compared to the people around you. But that discomfort is exactly what leads to improvement. If you keep going, your body adapts. The thing you once felt difficult doing eventually becomes normal. The same pattern appears everywhere in life. Public speaking, leadership, starting a business, building discipline, pursuing ambitious goals. Anything worth mastering will feel uncomfortable at first. If you quit every time something feels difficult, you will never grow. However, there is another kind of fear, the kind that signals something deeper. Sometimes discomfort comes from growth, and sometimes it comes from misalignment. The difference is important. Fear that signals growth often makes you nervous but excited. It is the kind of fear you feel before a challenge. It stretches you, and when you push through it, you feel proud afterwards. Fear that signals misalignment feels different. It feels draining. It feels like you are slowly becoming someone you don't want to be. Even when you push through it, there is no sense of progress or fulfillment, just exhaustion. Understanding the difference between these two kinds of fear is a skill you develop through experience. I can give you an example from my own life. I hate public speaking. You might not believe it because I record these videos, but to the public, I hate it. When I was at university, I was supposed to defend my master's dissertation in front of my peers. Instead, I just didn't show up. The presentation only counted for a small percentage of the overall grade, and I just allowed the fear to win. I hated the idea of speaking in front of people so much that even when my friends talked about weddings and best man speeches, I would tell them I wasn't the right person for the job. I knew it would be a disaster. But when I began my career in the humanitarian sector, public speaking became unavoidable. I had to brief people, run meetings, deliver trainings, present information. Part of me wanted to run away from it, but another part of me knew that avoiding it would limit my career. So I forced myself into it. And every time I did, something interesting happened. It almost always went better than I imagined. All of the catastrophic scenarios I had played out in my head never happened. I improved with experience. But here's the important part. The fear never disappeared for me. Even today, before a major presentation, I often struggle to sleep. My nerves spike, the adrenaline kicks in harder than it seems to for most people. And when it's finished, I feel a wave of exhaustion rather than energized. That experience has taught me something very valuable. Public speaking is probably not something that will ever feel natural to me, but I now know that through experience, not through avoidance, I pushed through the fear enough times to learn the difference between fear of growth and something that simply doesn't align with who I am. That distinction matters. If you are quitting because you are afraid, you should push through. If you have genuinely explored something, committed to it, and discovered that it isn't right for you, then walking away is not weakness, it is clarity. But there is one thing you should never walk away from too quickly, and that is your potential. Because one day you will look back on your life, and when you do, you will experience one of two types of pain. the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. The pain of discipline is temporary. It's the effort, the sacrifices, the discomfort of pushing yourself. But the pain of regret is different. Regret is the slow realization that you could have done more, that you had potential you never explored, that fear kept you playing small, that years from now, you do not want to look back and realize that you lived a life far below what you were capable of. The simplest way to avoid that regret is to adopt a simple principle. Act as if. Act as if you are capable. Act as if you are disciplined. Act as if you are the kind of person who overcomes challenges. Because the simple truth is, you become what you repeatedly do. If you act like someone who believes in themselves and refuses to quit, eventually that identity becomes real. But if you behave like someone who always hesitates, always doubts, always waits for permission, that will become your reality too. So decide early, believe before the proof exists, take action even when you don't feel ready, and keep moving forward long enough for reality to catch up with your belief. I hope you enjoyed that video and you learned something. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.